Good to see you guys. Have both of you on here. It's Jonathan's outnumbered. We got a bunch of great gals on here, great
Love it.
leaders.
Love it.
So we're going to touch on these two topics, multi-channel communication, which is really prime for this next as we get ready to go into round two, as well as peer-to-peer, because the essence of peer-to-peer is looking at how do we utilize the people we have to find new people that we may not currently have, which is the goal of round two, is getting new donors specifically. So let's jump into this first part of multi-channel communication. So just to start off, when we think about communication in general, and we've talked about having a communication plan, and I'm not talking about a complicated plan, but just saying, how are we going to communicate with folks as we go through this fuller picture of a campaign that's the microgrant round one? It's kind of a soft launch. When we talk about soft launch, I mean, this is about your team is on board, you're talking to your board, you may have communicated with monthly donors or major donors that, hey, we've got this matching grant that we're going to start. We've got this exciting new opportunity. We've been chosen. So on the inside, people know something is happening, and you know, in round one, got your match in order to make the match for round two. So we're in that place. I know both of you have done it. So congratulations. So I would say, you know, at this point, we can check that off. Boom. Round one is done. So we look into round two, and you know, some organizations, some people call that the hard launch. That's when you're going to kick off your matching grant campaign, and you want to have some form of communication that's saying, hey, we are in this time period going to be doing a matching grant. And if it's originally it's a $5,000 grant, both of you raised at least $5,000 in addition for round one. So yours would be $7,500 or whatever your final numbers would be. That's the matching grant campaign, the communication you want to go out to say, boom, we're starting. So that would be where all of this layered communication comes in. And then following that, because you have 2 months, is in this campaign, you want to send out reminders to people, talk about stories of people you've helped, and then, you know, keep that invitation going to be a part of either your monthly donor program or to be a part of an event that you're doing. So a lot of different things you could be doing during round two. And then that communication is going to be layered to help remind people of what's coming up. Then you'll have that final push near the end of November. That's when Giving Tuesday comes up, and you say, what is our communication that we want to have around that? So you may want to get people prepared for that. And then don't forget the communication on the back end when you celebrate what has been done. And you know, sometimes that, even for some people, is as you get to that celebration, you can still say it's not too late to be a part of what we did, even if you've hit your match, because people are thinking about their year-end giving kind of in that late October, early November, going into November. That's when individual donors are at their peak for looking for ways and places they want to give. So this is all about layered communication, and where we're going toward today is talking about how do you make that layered communication into multi-channels. But I couldn't resist this slide, because last week, my neighbors across the street came across the street, knocked on the door, and handed me a cake that looked a lot like this one. And I mean, you know, what a surprise. And all I can say is, yes, layers of simple goodness. But what that means to me here is this idea of how do you layer communication? When you layer communication, it's like this layer cake. It is simple goodness because, number one, it's got simple ingredients. It's not complicated. It's very well done. There's consistency throughout it. You look at that, you know exactly what it is. It's a strawberry layered cake with some awesome looking white frosting in the middle, probably cream cheese frosting. I'm salivating just looking at it. Consistency of what it looks like, visibly beautiful, and it really begs to say, I would like to have some. And that's the idea of layered communication that you want to have across your channels, is keeping it simple, making it consistent so that people know what it is you're talking about. Even if they miss the first communication that went out, they can kind of pick it up because there's that consistency and that they know what you're asking and what you're all about. So the main thing is to just really work on refining simplicity in your message, simplicity in what it looks like, simplicity in what you're asking people to do. So layers of simple goodness is what good communication layering is all about. So when we think about channels, meaning how are you going to send out that communication? I'm looking at two different ways. One, offline in the purple on the right, and online in the red in the left, is that there are lots of ways that you can communicate. And some of these are very common. And I would want to encourage you to think about in the next 2 months, at least using 3 different channels, because you're going to have donors that connect with you in different ways. So what are the best channels for you online? Now, I'm going to encourage us in the area of website. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But when I say websites, and newsletters could have gone either way. Nowadays, more people are sending newsletters out via email. So that's why I included it on the online side. And they have archives of newsletters on their websites, emails, signatures. So I'm talking about signatures on your email that you can even have that same wonderful branding of this matching grant period in your signature on every email that goes out. I know different leaders that have done that for decades, and they swear that every time they communicate, when people see that, it just is a reminder of, hey, this is one of the things we do when it comes to their monthly donor program. It's gold, as well as for any time you're having a very specific fundraising campaign, stick it in your signature, use whatever you've branded. Facebook, Instagram, so whatever social media, virtual events. Some of you may choose to do something that a virtual event or a peer-to-peer event, meaning getting other people to be a part. We're going to talk about that in the second half. On the offline side, direct mail, and I'd say direct mail is definitely not dead. We've been talking about it a lot in this past year. It is very effective. The difference is there's some cost associated, so people shy away, but the return on investment is pretty high. So sending some things out to different people, like a brochure or flyer they could pass on, is a way that is a viable way if you choose to do that. Live events, I know Renee's having a live event. So those are offline channels for communicating about the matching grant that you're in. Texts, really the upcoming way is for people to go, hey, did you hear we're having this event? Hey, did you hear we're in this matching grant? We'd love to have you be a part of that. And then phone calls, that one-to-one personal side. So those are some examples. Can you think, is there any other channels of communication that you use that's not on this list? It's a pretty extensive list, so I just thought I'd ask. All right, feel free to type it into the. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is an obvious one that we never think about, and that is just all of the opportunities we have to personally share with people, right? So even one-on-ones. I was meeting with a leader this morning who is going to be engaging a year-end campaign, and I said, listen, between now and the end of the year, you should never have a conversation with anybody where you don't share about this because it's super exciting. God's doing great things. You're trying to reach a certain goal, dollar amount wise, as you're getting ready to do, what God's calling you to do in 2024. So just incorporate it into all of your personal conversations as well.
Yeah, it is so obvious, and it's not on there. One-on-ones. A couple of other things I know people have used, and I've seen even recently, is using blogs and podcasts to promote some things in the end. If you do any of those kind of writing issues or podcasts. And then someone recently handed me a business card that was for their monthly donor program. So it was just specific for that. So, you can pretty much create those kinds of things on your own. I'm not saying you need to use all of these, certainly. I love what Jonathan's saying. Every conversation we have, this should be something that you want people to know, because fundraising is about relationship building. And one of the things that people will often say about nonprofits, I sat in a meeting yesterday with the leader. She said, you know, nonprofits are actually, she's not a nonprofit. She's thinking about being a nonprofit. So she says, nonprofits are actually pretty bad at getting the word out. It's like you have to dig to find information. And so I thought about that, and I went out and started looking at, you know, different organizations that we're a part of and going on their website, going different places to see, can I tell what their current fundraising things are? And actually, she was right. It was tough to find it out. So think about, what are the ways you communicate that people communicate with you, and make sure you're telling them what you're doing now. Because if they find out later, they go, why didn't you tell me? And then they kind of feel on the outside. And I know, Renee, if you've told us that, you know, your people are like, why didn't you tell us this? If it's a relationship built, that is, fundraising is about relationship building, then you want to make sure people feel like they're on the inside. So don't feel like don't hide what you're doing at all. Most common channels: websites, email, social media, direct mail, events, peer-to-peer, and throw in one-on-one conversations there. So when you think about what are you going to do, again, pick at least 3 different ways that you're focused on your communication going on. What are the best ways that for you and your group, your network, your community to do it? And then one factor in this is, as you look at round 2, your goal is to get new donors. So what are some of the communication channels that help you find new donors? So just kind of divided this. Who goes to your website? Well, you know, a lot of times it's people that know you, but I do have website searches on the right under new donors, because sometimes people go in and they'll say, are there any ministries out there that are caring for people that are grieving? So you look at grieving, you look at mourning, and boom, you jump in, you see Join the Mourning. And when you go on that website, do people know about your matching grant that is a possibility? So wherever you see new donors connecting to you, you want to make sure you're intentionally using that channel to communicate this matching grant. Don't miss any opportunity. Think about that. Think about, where do people connect to you first, and how do you engage that? Some people are really getting into ads with Facebook, Instagram, and the return on investment is pretty good on that when you're trying to widen your network. So if you've never tried it and you're interested, maybe you want to try it the next 2 months. Events, new donors, it's by invitation. And I'm going to talk about that in the peer-to-peer time a little bit more, but invitations and always finding ways to connect to new donors. So think about channels that get you connected to new donors specifically. Look at this. I highlighted RAM. Gotta love that. So on your website, I'm going to hit this a little bit more, because I went on to all of the websites for our matching grant people. And yeah, it's not October yet. So, you know, grace to everybody. But not anyone had anything on there about this upcoming match yet. I say yet because I'm hoping that is going to happen. You're particularly on your website, look for opportunities that even on your homepage, there's some visibility that shares something exciting. And so this smaller view on the left under the words your website is the Luke 14 Feast. And this is a different organization, not one that's in the microgrant this year, Accessible Hope International. They just are in the middle of a virtual fundraiser, and it is the first thing you see above the fold on their homepage. The Luke 14 Feast, the 4th annual virtual fundraising banquet. So, you know, if you go onto their website looking around for disabilities, you see this, and you would be able to connect and click in really quickly. So make sure that it's visible, that people see and know if they go to your website that you have this great opportunity. You know, most of the time we think of websites as kind of a static thing. We build it and we hope, you know, it's like having a fishing nets that's sitting in the sea and you go off and do things. Meanwhile, every now and then you need to do stuff to stir that up, but make sure people know what's going on when they go to your website. Use that whatever branding that you want to use for this round 2, use it in this consistently. It's like that, you know, simple goodness, layered cake is, what does it look like? Even if it's just one image you want to use consistently, images can help tie people's understanding as you're communicating. And then I'd say giving page match information. So whether you have a dedicated giving page for the match, or if you have on your general giving page, somehow there, everything you do communication should drive them to one giving page, and whatever you say in your communication needs to be connected to your giving page, so that when you say, I want you to be a part of this match, would you join us, would you be part of our monthly donor program, whatever your branding, your wording looks like in your communication, it should definitely match what's on your giving page, so that people don't have this disconnect that goes, wait, what happened? I clicked here, but it took me to something that is not familiar. I wonder if it's the right page. Because remember, we talked about abandonment rate, 80%. You don't want to create any kind of friction. You want to create that consistency of branding and look. So use your website, whether it's your homepage, your giving pages, to make sure that what you're going to share in these next 2 months, whenever they go onto your website to go to give, it looks the same. Another thing people use is pop-ups or banners on that front page. So, pop-ups are great for whatever's the thing of the moment. And if you have a pop-up that is sign up for our newsletter for ongoing information, you may want to shift that pop-up for the next 2 months to be, hey, we've got a matching grant. We'd love you to check it out. Go here, click, takes you to your dedicated giving page or your giving page information. So that's a way that you don't have to mess with your whole page. If you want to use a pop-up, great way to get it on your website to communicate those ideas. Other thoughts on website? Anyone want to add something into that?
I just affirm that. In fact, again, this meeting I had this morning in this organization talking about a year-end campaign, this was one of the things that we talked about, was we looked at their giving page and we talked about how, the end of the year campaign would be consistent with social media posts and email updates, and of course, when people go to the giving page, to respond to all that. You're in the right spot. It's a brand match. It's a message match. So there's no question that everybody knows they're responding to what you've been communicating about. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and here's an example. Last year, P82 was a part of the micro grant, and this is what their brand looked like. So whenever you went to their communication, this was part of it. And so it was become a monthly donor partner and double the hope. Learn more. So that image, that is part of their coloring. You can see how it all fits together. So the consistency was, they built something once, just one image, and then they use that in all their communication in some form or another. Sometimes it was, big and bright. Sometimes it was at the bottom. So there was consistency across that look. And then once you build just one thing, then you can use it in your different channels of communication. So think about, how do I create a clear message, a simple message? So this is bold, double the hope. So it's really clear what that is. And then I would also say, in your messaging, one of the things you want to be consistent about sharing is the impact. Because a lot of times we talk about double the hope, but more and more donors are saying, to do what? So you've got a match to accomplish what? And all of you have developed a clear non-consumable. I wouldn't use that wording with donors, but you know what it is. And this is the thing that you're raising your money for. And what is that going to do to help your organization and help the donor, serve more people in the area that you're passionate about? So really, that area of double the hope, you should consistently have what it is you're going to do with that in a very simple messaging that is, it doesn't have to be in every single one, but it should be often enough that people know exactly what you're going to do with the double. I think that's one of the biggest misses in matching grants right now. A lot of people talk about double the impact. A lot of people are talking about matching grants, but I rarely see clearly what that match is going to go for. And that will set you apart, because people are not just excited about giving and doubling. That's true. That is a benefit, but they want to know that what they're giving toward and what the money's doubling is going to go to something that they're really passionate about or they believe in, and they want to contribute to that. So it's creating that connection. And a lot of times we'd say, when it comes to share content branding, less is more. You don't need it to be complicated. You don't need it to be, overly professional. You just want it to be simple, clear, and consistent. So just think of that nice, beautiful cake that we talked about. That is what is going to give you the kind of messaging, branding that will make people salivate and go, I really am interested in this, they'll follow that. So you're inviting some people to be part of something you're passionate about, something you believe in, that God cares about. So inviting them to be champions with you is this is your opportunity to do that in a way that really meets the need for the donor and meets your organizational need to do something really significant. Other thing in terms of, emails is probably the next most used channel. They're no cost really to us except for our time. But I would say many times emails get very convoluted. So unfortunately, I could not get a clear picture of this. So sorry about the blur. But what I wanted you to do is to see the messaging that is similar. It's double my impact. And so they chose messaging for this particular organization that's not an image of a person, but they're choosing an image that is 50 plus 50 equals 100. Very clear. Matching grant doubles your gift. So that is something that's very visible and obvious. Now, subject lines do matter, because open rates, if people don't open your email, so the first thing to get across is a subject line. So writing in there, double your life-saving impact. So in that case, it's because of what they were doing, which is, helping people who were losing their homes to get homes. Double your life-saving impact, double your impact. Down the other one that I've got highlighted, it says 3 reasons you don't want to miss the Luke 14 feast. So that other example I gave you, Luke. So this was one of those 3 reasons why you don't want to miss it. That makes you go, what were the 3 reasons? Open up that email. So use your email subject line to capture attention, to create curiosity, something that's catchy, sometimes even that has double meaning. Some people swear by using the emoticons in subject lines. It's debatable, but if it's an option and you want to try it, give it a try. But using things in your subject lines that catch people's attention, so that open it up, then use pictures and images that are consistent with your branding, and make sure you have that white space that is there, because you don't need a long email to explain what you're doing. The shorter, the clearer, the more consistent that your concise messaging is, the more likely that they'll read it. I don't know if you know this, but an average read rate for emails, 9 seconds. So if you only got 9 seconds, that means that when you're not writing to the reader that's going to read top to bottom, you're writing to a skimmer. And so that's why images matter. That's why call to action buttons matter. And personalization. If you have a way with your donor management system, if you have a CRM and you can put their name in it, then that all the better, because people love to know that you're writing to them, not just to the general population. So this is that email in blur, but you can see even in the blur because this is kind of what a skimmer sees. It's like, a verbal wah, wah, wah. This is a visual. I don't even care about this except for it says, dear somebody's name. Exciting news, that's in bold, so I can read that. All the rest I can't read, and then it's twice as many possible. Then you have the visual images of 25 becomes 50, 50, 100. Then you have more of those links, that is your generous gift doubles. The next one, your generous gift doubles, and then please double your life-saving impact. And then at the end, yes, double my impact. Now, that may feel to you and me like there's a lot of repeat on that, but what that's saying is there's one message in this email. We have a match and we're going to be consistent. And so if my eye reads through that and sees all this double, I go, well, maybe I want to know a little bit more. And then I start to read a little. And that's how people read. If you are consistent and simple and your email has a lot of white space like that, then people will skim it. And if they're interested in it and they feel like they got the gist, then they'll read a little bit deeper. So think about that when you are thinking emails, simple messages, one message per email. Maybe, hey, big news, we're kicking off this. It's going to be this time. Create some urgency around it. Here's why it's important. And then think about, what is your email series? Are you going to do 3 emails in the next month? 4 emails, 2 emails? How many between October and November, using the email channel to get your message across? And I would say, a kickoff email that goes once, maybe twice, because people don't often read all their emails. And then a story that's related to what you're doing, an impact story of what it's done. Talk about the impact of the goal you're trying to reach. Non-consumable, don't use that word. They won't know what it means, but we know what it means. And then linking everything back to your website giving page. Again, what Jonathan said, if they click to that website page and it looks completely different, then they go, oh, so there's that consistency of branding, and they go, okay, you said 100 here, in that giving page, it says your gift doubles, same wording. Then people are going to feel like, okay, I get it. I see what's happening. I know what they're doing. I've got a busy life, but I can follow them and I'm interested. I want to give. So emails are powerful. So this is just the general gist on multi-channels. Visibility on your website, because your website is one of those pages going to be used a lot. One of those channels used a lot with this, our matching grant campaign. Dedicated donation page, or at least have it listed on your general page that you've got great news at this time. Here's what's happening. Create common branding content. At least, I would say, if you're going to do emails and use emails in the next 2 months, 5 emails is not too much. People don't read all 5 emails. If they've read one, then you reinforce it, then you're reminding them. And if you're telling a story in one, you have a great subject line, read so-and-so's story, double your impact, don't forget, those kinds of things, people are going to go, oh yeah, because they might have good intentions, but we need to be reminded, this is a busy season for most people. Share images and stories, so make it compelling, make it about impact. All channels go to your donation page, and use at least 3 channels so that you can go wide finding that. So let me ask that question here. What channels are you planning to use? So let's just go ahead and unmute yourself, since there's really just a few of us. What channels do you feel like are the best that you want to be using for the next couple of months?
So I usually, oh, go ahead, please.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ashley, and then we'll look at Renee.
I usually use MailChimp, but I've actually found a little bit of a better way is I'll take whatever I was writing in MailChimp and I'll just BCC it in a Gmail. So just like a straight Gmail email. And I'm still doing it to multiple people and it still looks nice, but I've noticed more often now people are responding to that. So I think now, instead of MailChimp, I'm just going to do a regular email. That'll probably be my first go-to. And then, yes, the same kind of like face-to-face and text message. I think this will be my main routes for this campaign.
Okay, good. Yeah, and that's a good point, that not all email is the same. So you can do email through lots of different ways, whether it's through some CRMs you can email through, but sometimes that sends people to junk mail. So testing that. MailChimp has some of the same challenges, and sometimes people don't read their MailChimp, it goes to the wrong place. And always you want to make sure it comes back to a person, so it has a person's address. That's one of the reasons people like to open it, because it feels like it's personal rather than like you're writing to the group. So yeah, glad that you've tested that, Ashley, and you know what's best. Renee, what are you thinking about?
Definitely Facebook and email were our 2 go-tos. So just those two right now was what we were going to be using. We don't have Twitter. I think that we do have, and I think because clearly I was not in charge of this, Instagram. But I'm learning more about those two methods of communication, Instagram and Facebook, and how they're kind of connected. So that was going to be how we market it. And then peer-to-peer. So the fundraising team that we've put together, we were going to use them to broaden it and use more peer-to-peer.
Great. Yeah, that's outstanding, because both of those two channels, you know, social media as well as peer-to-peer things, are going to widen your network on new donors. So that's going to be really helpful. And neither of you did talk about website, but is that just kind of an assumption that you're also going to be having, you know, communication on your website that people will see?
Yes. So Monday, I actually met with the guy that takes care of our website, and we're revamping it even as we speak. And he's building that, the donation page and connecting it to our new CRM. And so all of that is underway as well.
Way to go, Renee. That's a lot of big work. And like I said, I realized we haven't kicked off round 2 yet. I was kind of looking preliminary to see. Next month will show, you know, because a lot of it, we're getting things ready. Ashley, how about you with your website? Are you seeing that as a tool that you're going to use to be able to capture whatever comes in and that way?
So we did just produce a video that will drive them to the website. I was waiting for our final match number to come in before I did an update. So God willing, that's this weekend, updating that. So yeah, we're pretty much going to drive all of our main giving through the website. Yeah, so just
Cool.
haven't done it yet.
Yeah, and this is this is the final push. So all of you are not late for sure. We're kind of hitting this on the back at the very end of round 1, all that prep. And there's nobody telling you have to send your big email kickoff on, October 1. It could be October 5, whenever you're ready to do that. So just checking in on what channels you are interested in planning on working on.
Well, and I think, Heather, a great reminder on, email communications, that we really are sending emails to skimmers and not readers. And so I think that's something to really remember. Think about how you handle emails when you get them, right? That's how other people handle them. And occasionally somebody will email me and say, you didn't, answer the question I asked, or my wife will email me something, and I'll say, well, where was it? And, she'll say in paragraph 4, and I'm like, paragraph 4, I didn't get to paragraph 4, so it really just is, understanding the rhythm and the flow. And when you think about 9 seconds, when you said that, I don't know if this is sad or not, Heather, but when you said 9 seconds, I actually thought, wow, people give it a full 9 seconds. That's a decent amount of time.
Jonathan's a 6-second guy, just
6-second guy.
Hold it.
I think just keeping that in mind, right, and understanding how people engage material. So
it's true, and that's an average. So Jonathan, you're a guy that's keeping that average down lower, because some of us read it, and evidently your wife will read all the details. So you do have that average. Sorry, Ashley, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, to that point, that's what I realized with my copying what I would have done in MailChimp, and then I just did Gmail instead, because we had an event last week and it was a free breakfast. And so I made sure I put that in the title, instead of them having to open the email and be like, well, what's this about? I put, you're invited to a free breakfast, so that they saw that. So yeah, and I got some good responses. Some people I didn't expect to be there showed up. So I guess that took 3 of the seconds they would have read.
Yeah. And the other thing I will say too, and in MailChimp, it's real easy to do this. There's a big difference when you plug somebody's name into the subject line. It's so funny. I get emails back from people often, 800, MailChimp email, and they feel the need to respond back to me personally because their name was in the subject line, and it was just that they took it as very personal. And so I'll invite people to workshops, and literally it's just wild. People will respond to that email and say, "So sorry, Jonathan, can't make it," or "I'm traveling," or different things like that, or whatever. And so they really receive it personally, and even feel the need to respond to it. So for us in our communications, I've noticed a big difference in putting the name into a subject line.
Yeah. In fact, the other day, one of the individuals that you did that with told me, I came to this training because Jonathan invited me personally. And so, the reality is that being personable, that's what we don't want to just be a number. So thinking about how do you do that and using email effectively in that way, whatever that looks like for you. So jumping into this area of peer-to-peer communication and promotion, the power of peer-to-peer, the power of word of mouth, we all know it. So, I'm not trying to build that as the main point here, because we already understand that. But when you have champions, people that believe in what you're doing, they are really an effective way of building more champions. And so whether it's your monthly donors that you are starting to grow, and people that have been there, people have been with you a long time. Board members are an incredible champion of you because they're on your board. They have some skin in the game that says we've got some ownership in this. And then even some of your newest donors, people you got interested recently, they still have that excitement of what it means to learn about you and what you're doing. And those are all people that, it's very natural for us to share with other people the good news of something we really like and we're passionate about. And I love this because this is an example that I put on the right of an organization that their monthly donor program is called the A-Team. And they had sent out an update to their monthly donor community that was about what, they were doing. And they said, P.S., if you know someone who has a heart for people with disabilities, so that's how they summarize. This is who we are. We care about people with disabilities. Please encourage them to join the A-Team so that together we can create greater access for even more people. One sentence, P.S., almost everybody reads your P.S. They say the number one thing on any email that people read or direct mail is the P.S. I don't know if it because those of us that have been around a long time, we always said, P.S. I love you. That was kind of the old way, you put that down at the very bottom. But we love our P.S.s at this time. But that's a great way to invite people that are part of your community to be a champion for others, and it just jogs your thinking. So things like that throughout this month, as you think about the next 2 months, as you think about the emails you're putting out, think about how can you encourage the people that are current donors that you will continue to communicate with. They aren't our target for this campaign, but certainly you want them to know it's happening. Certainly you want them to be excited to share it and to kind of be part of the team that's doing it. So think about what are some different ways that we can use the champions that we have to create even more champions? This idea of finding new donors. A lot of people go, it's just hard. How do we widen our network? Well, people do naturally share what they're excited about. So whenever you send out information about something that's exciting, I think of one organization, they sent out this update on baptisms, people that just came to Jesus. It's one of those moments. It's those moments of transformation that when your community hears about it, that they're really excited about it. That's the moment to capitalize to say, would you share this with somebody else? So, when you have those special moments and when you have special events, when you have things that you're excited about, that's when people are excited. That's when they're naturally going to share. So you want to use their network and invite them and make it easy for them to share. And one of the things about it is that people trust people that they know. Mm-hmm. So, people do want to be giving. People are interested in making a difference. It's like God is awakening the church broadly, not just to be people that give. It's not just about tithing. It's about making a difference in the world, being the hands and feet of Jesus. And there's more and more people going, I really want to make a difference. I've watched friends of mine that have not really had any interest in ministry. They're Christians, they love God, but that's not their thing. Now they're all looking for places that they can invest in and be a part of and volunteer. So they go to who? People they know, and they say, who are you engaged with? So this, I think in our past, we've always been a little afraid to use our networks because we're going to impose. But nowadays, it's like people are looking for something. So when we share, it's a way to pass on something that we feel excited about. And so when people are equipped to share their personal involvement in your mission, they will reach entirely new networks. That's what peer-to-peer is all about. It's about looking at, when are people excited? When they first come in, they're excited. When something big happens, they're excited. When they just came to an event and heard the testimonies, they're excited. Those are those moments that they're ready, if they're equipped, to share that with others. So that's really a lot of what peer-to-peer is about, is how do we make it easy? So before easy, I will say this, you've got to be willing to ask for help. I've seen more of these recently, emails that says we need your help. Now, if you want to steal that subject line in the next month that you send this out to your current donors, I think it's great. We need your help. There's room. We can't do this alone. And this is one of the things that if I've learned something in the last 2 months with different trainings that I've been preparing for and studying about, is that often we like to act like in nonprofits, we have our act together. We feel this pressure like, we need to prove to people that we're worthy of their money. Instead of saying to people, hey, if you're excited about this, you come help us do this. There's room for you. We don't have it all figured out. We cannot do this alone. So instead of having that pressure to feel like you're the best in the world and you need no help, to say, we need your help. Well, this one came to me. Dear Heather, you are a vital pillar. Wow. Okay. No one said that to me all day. Supporting the work that God is doing among vulnerable people. We can't do this without you. As we approach our annual Luke 14 feast, we need your help. All right, you know that I'm using these guys pretty consistently because they just did this appeal and they did it really well. They have put it out there. They went to their inner network and they said, we need your help. Then they say, it's our goal to introduce 100 new people to the ministry of Accessible Hope and give them a glimpse into what God's doing in the lives of the people we serve. Would you help us do that? There are 2 ways that you can help introduce 100 more people to this amazing work of God. So they're going to make it easy for me. So they say, we need your help. I opened this email. I have a bunch of their emails I did not open. I opened this email because I'm curious. I want to know, what can I do in this context? So you see, when we ask people for help, it's a way of honoring them and a way to say, you're a part of this. You're a vital part. You're not just a money person that we need your help to really accomplish. And they shared their goals. Now you can take a 0 off that and say we need 10 new people, or you can make your goal 25 or whatever it is, going toward whatever that goal is. They're telling them what their goal is. Chances when they open up, they want to help you, even if they just pass it to their mom, to their friend. They're getting their brains thinking about who can I share this with? And it's a chance for them to not only make a difference personally, but to make a difference even broader than themselves. So people do like doing things that make a difference and help. And then the next thing is really making it easy for them. So the rest of that email was like, here's the 2 ways you can help us. Number 1, you can invite friends to watch the program. They did a virtual online 30-minute, all videotaped ahead. And they said, we'll provide everything you need for the event. We even have host packets and door prizes and party favors for you and your guests. I'm like, really? You did that? No, you don't have to go to that extent, but to make it so that you say, we will give you what you need. You don't have to worry about a thing. This is like party in a box. They're just saying, we're going to make it easy for you to share. All you do is bring people over, share it with them. So that was one thing. And they said you can forward the email about Luke 14 to your friends, but don't forget to tell them why you're part of Accessible Hope and why you think they'd enjoy the program. So that's the personal side. They're giving them information, equipping them, but saying, here's what you can do. Forward this email. So they've really asked their champions, the people passionate about them, to do something to help. And then they gave them the equipping to make it easy to do it. thank you for helping us spread the good news. So, this made this doable and possible, and it expand their network way beyond those individuals that they've got. Thoughts, insights, as you look at these two things, 2 emails, ask for help, make it easy.
I love the virtual party.
Same.
hack
It's
that-
awesome.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you could do that.
Mhm. It's one of the benefits we gained from having COVID is people had to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And having some friends over and say, hey, I got something I'm excited about. Will you come over for dessert? Will you come over for a game night? I want to share this 30-minute video, or, they put it together in a way that was easy to sit down and watch, and, really honoring, and gave a lot of the stories of impact that were there. So they just brought that whole idea of a big event that you spend a lot of time and money on into someone's room. So, it's a great way to, and these guys are international, so there's no way they could have one single event like some of us can, because we're more localized. But so this is just an example of a way to go, how do you make it easy to connect people? So thinking about doing that. So having fun, I've seen this a couple of times now, is let's return the fun into fundraising. What does that look like in your community? What would fun and fundraising look like? Now, I will tell you, Renee, I am really excited about the crab boil. That sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Yes, my daughter just hired a jazz band, so I'm pretty excited about it too. Yeah,
So
it's
you're
also really
bringing
fun to. It's also really fun to watch my family cook crab, because we are all desert rats, so it all comes together and it's quite amazing. So
yeah, I am looking forward. But that's the idea, is when people think of fundraising, and if you want to do peer-to-peer, it's like, how do you help keep it fun for people? And so, having clear goals so that people know what we're trying to do. You don't lose the goal to compromise for fun. You don't ever want to do that. But then, what do? Create a family day. Hey, we can bring our family together and do something together. I've seen people do that, and they have actually an activity that they do that helps them engage in whatever the area of the cause or the passion and the mission is. A movie night where you could, some groups, particularly lately, because you have The Sound of Freedom, anyone involved in sex trafficking, that is a great movie night. You could do a fundraiser right around everyone just watching that movie together, not that it's in the house yet, but anyway. Bowling, a lot of people do bowl-a-thons because they're fun to go do it, or putt-putt, golfing, dessert nights, a run, walk, hike, go with some friends, gather some people, create a team, or making some kind of a special event like what you're doing where everyone's coming together. All of those things are great when you have the ability to bring 1 or 2 people. So you're widening that network in a peer-to-peer environment. What does that look like? And we love to have that friendly competition. If you add that in, that can also be fun. Sometimes it's fun to say to your board, hey, will you guys compete and go, how many people can you bring, or donors can you get, or whatever that competition is, have the one group, the board, come against your monthly donors and see if, even though your monthly donors don't all know each other, you'd add it all together and just say, where are we at with this process, of something. So creating competition, staff, family, board, you could do it that way, one small group to another. Depends upon your community. Where would natural competition be able to be in terms of fundraising, in terms of bringing people to an event, or whatever it is your goal is keeping it so that you can have fun and you can accomplish and reach the goals. Any other great creative ideas on that?
I was just
think
gonna
this is-
say,
Go ahead.
it didn't work out so well at an event. I got a couple laughs, but we put the fun in funeral. It was a joke, but one of my kids
That's tricky.
on the way to an event, on the way to a memorial that I had to do, my kids, were saying bye to me. They're like, bye, mama, have fun. And so I told them that story after I said put the fun in funerals. So
Oh, that's fun.
maybe that'll be a good tagline and they'll read the email if I put that.
Yeah. Can we put fun in the funeral?
In the funeral.
It certainly will catch people and go, what? You know? So I think, you know, having that idea goes, oh, I meant fundraising instead of the funeral. You know, so you can do all kinds of fun things on word plays like that. But I do think this is where a lot of fundraising is going, is how do we create environments where people can come together in their networks, have fun, and do something that creates a cause. You've seen, if, you know, I've talked about Charity Water a lot, but they have a section, they're called the Tiny Heroes. And these are all kids that give up their birthdays and do, you know, raise money for Charity Water, clean water instead of getting birthday gifts, or they have a lemonade stand, or they have whatever. But these are kids that are having fun fundraising for an incredible cause. So
Yeah.
learning how to do that and engage people and make it so that, you know, it's something that people can get passionate about what God's called you to do. It's being creative. Now, you don't have to do all of this, you know, this time, but we're just talking about peer-to-peer because this is an incredible fundraising strategy